Hello everyone, this is the great Lord and Master Osiron Eternal. For it's going to be a reshoot of Osiron Tarot Spiral 11. I just wasn't happy with the other video. I missed way too much information, and there was some issues with the camera too that I didn't like. There's focusing issues that were going on. So, okay, what we have here is the Osiron Tarot Spiral, and up here we have a cube. We have the tarot keys laid out in their cube geometry structure, and all of these are interrelated. As we know, the Osiron Tarot Spiral is laid out using cube geometry. We have the Fool in the center here, and we see that in the center of the cube. We have the 3 axis cards, or the God cards, here shown in green. We have the 6 faces here shown in red on the cube, and then the 12 outer cards shown in blue on the cube. And over here, we see it here, and they're all color-coded to be congruent. See, one of the issues that I had with the other video is how I kept talking about the cube and 666, and this actually goes back to Proof of God 4, way back a couple of years ago when I talked about this. But the cube is best represented by 369, or just 9 directly, not 666, because there's no real link to the cube in 666 other than abstract metaphor, really. Because what we see here is the 12 outer edges of the cube, which reduce to 3 to give us a 3. And then we have the 6 faces of the cube for the 6. And then for the 9, what we get is the center point plus the 8 corners, which is again showing a 1-8 configuration with the cube. So that's best with 3, 6, and 9. And also, if we take one of the faces here, that's comprised of 4 90-degree corners, and 4 times 90 gives us 360, and you multiply that by 6, gives us 2,160, which is, again, one section, 1/12 of the great year. So we're seeing the link with the cube and the number 12 all over the place, and we're going to see it over here, too, because this is separated into 3 and 6. The faces, when you add up the numbers, reduce to 3 for the faces, and then the outer edge of the cube, when you add the numbers up, reduce to 6 to give you a 3, 6. But also, the columns, each of the columns reduce to 3, 6, 9, and 3, 6, and 9. But it separates in 2 key distinct groups. This first group of 4, all the numbers in there are Kundalini numbers of 3, 6, and 9, whereas the last 2 here are all terrestrial numbers. But what happens is, this 30 becomes a 3, this 33 becomes a 6, this 36 becomes a 9, and then this 39 becomes a 12 before it becomes a 3 again. So we're seeing the 3, 6, 9, and 12 presentation done in 4 steps. Well, that's the Zodiac. We have the 4 quadrants of the seasons, and then we have the 12 houses. So we're seeing the link with the Zodiac and the cube here in this first section. And then the terrestrial numbers show up as 42 and then 45, which reveal a 6. See, this first group reduces to a 3, and this second group also reduces to a 6 to give you a 3, 6 presentation. So, and we're seeing a lot with this here. See, the cube in this presentation is actually separated into 2 distinct sections. We have the axis cards, which really don't exist. All the axis cards really do is establish the aspect of 3 dimensions for the cube, and then once that happens, the cube itself is represented by these 18 cards, which is again 1 and 8. And so it separates it, and because the face cards reduce to a 6, and it gives us a 6, and the cube cards reduce to a 9, and we're seeing that here. We're seeing a 6 and a 9 show up here. As a matter of fact, each of these rows, the first row reduces to 39, the second row here reduces to 75, and then the third row reduces to 111. Well, the separation between these numbers is also 36. If you take 111 and subtract this, it's 36, and you take this number and subtract 39, it reveals 36. And 36 times 2 is 72, so we're seeing a lot of powerful numbers. And the reason there's a 666 here, and the reason that's in 3 rows, is because it takes 3 steps at its widest to reduce, and it takes a total of 9 steps to reduce as well. So the axis cards reduce to 6 in 1 step. This row here, the face, is reduced to 3 in 3 steps. This row reduces to 3 in 3 steps. And this last row reduces to 3 in 2 steps. So we have a 1 plus 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 and 9. So 9 steps to do that. And that gives you a 666. But that only gives you a 666 if you add the axis cards. If you take away the 6, which doesn't really exist, then it's a 9. So it reduces to 9. So the cube is best represented by 9, not 6. Well, I mean, the cube is 6 because it's 6 faces, but I'm talking about the actual relation, the triple numbers, But that's what that does. So there's a lot going on with this. And also, every 3 numbers reveal a 6 in this structure as well. So if you take 6 times 6, that gives you 36. So we're seeing 36 all over the place. Also, the Osiron Tarot Spiral itself shows 3-6 separation, multiple places. See, one of the reasons why the winter is considered the womb is because that's comprised of 9 cards, and they reduce to 9, which is 9 plus 9 is 18, so we're seeing the 18 again. We see the 18 here in the cards, we see the 1 and 8 with the center and the edges here, and then we have the 18 actual face cards of the cube here, so 18 is huge in the cube as well. But the rest of it is comprised of 3 seasons, and all the numbers in those 3 seasons reduce to a 6 for a total of a 3-6 separation, but each quadrant does it too. See, this quadrant is comprised of 3 cards and the total reduces to a 6. This quadrant is comprised of 3 cards and the total reduces to a 6. This quadrant is comprised of 6 cards and the total reduces to a 3. So we're seeing that here. So we're seeing a lot of powerful links in relation to the 3-6 separation aspect with this too, all over the place. And even, you see this little man here? This man is a 10 next to it. Well, as I've explained before, the Osiron Tarot Spiral is actually a fractal of many aspects of life, but one of those is it's the life of a man. See, the man is conceived in Capricorn here, and then this is the womb, the gestation period. The man is born in Aries, and then he goes around and he ultimately dies with the death card at the end of Scorpio. In House 9, Sagittarius, is an alleyway between worlds, which I get into in the first part of the series. But the life of the man is comprised of using only 10 cards. It begins in Aries here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then he dies with the 10th card, the death card in Scorpio. In the death card in the weight deck even shows a man, the king lying prone on the ground, dead, being mourned by his family. So there's a lot, that's a lot going on with that. And there's a lot going on with a lot of this. This even shows the true tree of life and the jewel in the presentation here, because we have 5 rows that go down. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 6 columns go across for the 6, and all of that. And there's actually one mistake I made on the other presentation too. I put a 150 down here, and that was supposed to be a sign of the cherubics and the other one. But it's really not. See, it really separates into 3 sections, even sections. They're all even too. The cardinals become 66, the cherubics become 77, and the mutables become 88. And the total of that is 231, which reduces to a 6. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. The number correlations with the Osiron Tarot Spiral are just amazing. There's just so many little things. I mean, to sit here and pick it all apart would just be nauseating to listen to, and you know what I mean? But there's a lot going on in here. And one of those aspects is what's really going on with the womb here. See, these 3 cards are actually the God cards, and they represent a different aspect of the God principle, sort of like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, or the Holy Trinity. Well, we're seeing that here. You got the High Priestess, the Magician, and then the Empress. And these are just all aspects of the same God force, basically. We have the fertility and the primal essence of the feminine, which is what everything's about. We have the illusion of duality here, which is the masculine aspect. And then we have the Empress here, which represents fertility, abundance, life ripe with potential, basically, a lot of things, but that's what that represents. So we're seeing the God aspect here. And the Osiron Tarot Spiral is also meant to be viewed after the cards are laid down. So it's not a question of putting one card then the other, so to speak. What really happens is you lay out the cards using the cube geometry, and then when it's finished, you read it complete. So that's why these cards, these secondary cube cards, augment the first card so beautifully, because that's how it was meant to be. And we see, again, my postulation is the High Priestess is card 1, which is, it's a no-brainer really when you look at what's going on, because you have Capricorn, which is the Earth house, and the High Priestess represents a lot of things, but one of those is everything that's feminine. Is, she is the archetypal feminine principle of being. So everything feminine is under her umbrella. And so we see the Earth sign, which is feminine. These cards, these 3 cards in this house, add up to a 7, which is the blood in the high over water, and it saturates the Earth here. The Tower, which is the ejaculating phallus, but more specifically the ejaculate or the semen from the phallus. The card 16 becomes a 7, which is the sexual fluid. So we're seeing a lot of links to the High Priestess here. So the High Priestess definitively is card number 1, and it's a no-brainer. And the Magician goes in Aquarius, which is house cherubic air, and that is the aspect of duality. The masculine aspect of duality and the illusionary aspect of it. So the masculine aspect is actually the illusionary aspect of the material world. And then the Empress, as I said, is that. And so this is what's going on with the Osiron Tarot Spiral 11. So the cube is much more better represented by 3, 6, and 9, or just 9 than 6, 6, 6. So that's why I wanted to reshoot this video, because it's just so important to get that out there. So thank you, and namaste.